Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy Minds podcast. This is our 4th episode, and I'm sitting here with Shelly. She's going to be our guest for today. Shelly, you're a member here at Ren. Say hi to everybody, Shelly.
Hello.
How's your day going?
Good.
Good. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. I know you said that you're a little bit nervous today. You said this is your first time being recorded ever, right?
Correct.
Nice. And you said it's the first time you'll probably ever you've shared your whole story.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So just a little bit about the podcast. We broadcast this podcast from Recovery Empowerment Network. We are a peer-run facility, meaning that all of the people who work here at REN in some way have lived experience when it comes to mental health, either through ourselves or through family or friends. So we try to use our own experiences in life to help those who are just beginning or along their own recovery journey. And our goal with this podcast is to bring more awareness to mental health, reduce stigma, and share stories that recovery is possible for everybody. So, Shelly, why don't you go on ahead and start off with just a little bit about yourself, like who you are, and maybe just tell us a little bit about your recovery story.
My name is Shelly. My recovery is I was addicted to meth for 6 years and came to that it was time to change when the time was right, and I finally did it almost 9 years ago. It was hard. It's not an easy road, but I made it. Believed in my higher power and just went forward, hoping one day that I get to see my son again.
So let's take it back a little bit. I think that's probably a microcosm of your journey. I'm sure there's far more in there. You said that meth was the substance that you're recovering from the most. Were there other substances like before that? Did you just jump straight into meth, or was there other?
No, I tried it once and got addicted. And I had a baby in the other room and didn't really care because I was high.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about what were the events or what led up to you using for the first time?
I met someone that lived in the complex, and they asked if I wanted to try it, and I said yeah.
And can you recall about, where you were at that time in terms of just your inner self? Was there anything else that you were struggling with? I know that later on in this podcast, we'll get into some of the things that you've been diagnosed with. Were those at all playing a role in your recovery, or was the meth kind of like the catalyst that started it all? Or?
Yeah, no, I've been diagnosed bipolar going on 25 years now, around there somewhere.
Were you experiencing anything of those before your substance use, or did the substances lead into that, if you remember?
I think I've been diagnosed bipolar, but recently, within the last 15 years, I've been diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic.
Okay. And if you can recall from your substance use, did that exacerbate, make those symptoms that you're experiencing more, or maybe even less? Were they helping in a way? Were they hurting in a way?
While using, I was hearing voices back then, but now I hear it worse because of the drugs, the meth use. And so it was harder for me to quit. Because I didn't like the way I felt when I wasn't using. I had to use in order to make myself feel better about myself.
Right. So the more you continue to use, your body became acclimated to that, essentially. That
yes.
Addiction part was starting to take hold, to where it was harder to function without it than it would be with it.
Correct.
So you said that your substance abuse also was in line with your baby, your child.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience? Did you lose custody?
I lost custody of my kid when he was born. He went to his aunt's house, lived with them. I had visitation, and then the addiction was more powerful, and I just wouldn't quit even though I had a son. And then 6 years later, I lost total custody. So that made it even worse.
Mm.
So I did more and more to make myself feel happy and make myself feel like everything, I don't care about anything.
And with the idea of not caring about anything, I mean, if you can recall being back to that state, like, what was that like? Do you feel in those moments you had any drive to quit then?
Mm-mm.
Why?
I thought I wasn't a good mom. I didn't think that I could do it on my own. Part of the reason why he was taken is his dad was very abusive. So they got me neglect of an unborn child. When the baby came out, CPS came and took it right away. So I felt like that I didn't have control over myself, yet alone trying to take care of a baby using drugs was hard. Because I seen him every weekend. I'd take care of him, but I was always high.
You started substance use. You're not too sure of the date or when you started using it, or you do remember?
Well, I'll be 9 years sober, and I did it for 6, so that's 15 years ago.
15 years ago. So
It all
that'd be
started-
about 2000 and you're looking at about 1997, I think. No, wait, 15 years ago would be 2000 and
2008
And
is
yeah.
when I had my son in the beginning in February that year. So it was New Year's Eve, 2008, and then from there it just got worse.
yeah. And it started getting worse. Can you tell me about when was that moment then when your child was taken away?
He was taken at birth.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Okay.
As soon as I had him, he was in my care until he got out of the hospital. Once he got out of the hospital, his aunt took him.
I'm sure that's a very painful thing to have to go through.
Yes.
I'm sure there's a lot of people, though, out there who either have or possibly even still going through something like that. What was your mindset back then? Like, was it, obviously you love your child.
Yes.
You know, I can see that and I know that and you've told me about that. So, like, was that a driving force in helping you to get clean and sober and things like that?
No, I fought from the day one of me using. It just was like a one-time thing a day. Then it became most of my day to I have to have it. I couldn't function without it. It was hard.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about when your recovery journey like began and what led to it and what kind of like steps you took to help in your own recovery. So let's just start with, was Ren the very first place you came to for recovery, or was there another peer run or another organization that you went to
I
first?
went to my clinic. They had groups there.
Okay. Do you remember the time that this usually was? Like any date or?
I used to go every day.
But was this back when your child was just born? So was it like 2008 that you started to go to places, or was this after?
Oh, I was going to places before.
Gotcha.
But not as. It's almost the same as Ren, but I would go to my clinic for groups like bingo, bowling, we bowling and stuff. But when I was there, I was still using. I wouldn't use on property, obviously. But it got harder and harder to quit. I went to jail, got sober in jail, spent 2 months in jail, and then I went to a rehab group home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about 9 years ago. So jail kind of was the upfall. And also coming out of rehab, my mom told me that my cousin OD'd on heroin and died. And they were crying. I know, calling my mom. She's all hysterical. Please quit. I can't do this anymore. Yeah. So I quit.
Wow. Cold turkey.
The last time was when I was in jail, and I didn't go back.
First off, I want to say I applaud that nice positive shift when you said your downfall, but then you said your upfall, because it sounds, because like, I think we all in recovery have that moment where we kind of hit what we consider to be our bottom, and maybe a place that we don't think we can climb back out of, but it's actually like the best place to start a strong foundation of being like the new you. And so what led to jail? What was that? What caused that?
Couple of years prior, when I was using, I don't know exactly around when, me and my ex-husband had warrants out for our arrests prior to, I don't even know what caused it.
Okay.
But we both had warrants, grand jury indictment warrants, which is huge. Mm-hmm. So I ended up in jail, and then when I got released, I was put on probation, and I didn't do my probation, and I didn't care anymore, but that point in jail changed my life. I ended up going back to jail for probation violation, but like I said, then the next time, the thing was I either had to go to a group home or a rehab facility. So they found me a group home that was a rehab-based group home.
Kind of like the same, like two birds with one stone kind of thing,
And then one day they got tired of it, and they changed my court date. I ended up going up there. Not even 5 minutes of me being in the courtroom, I was arrested again for probation violation. So I just finally said I'm not going to win the fight. So I just quit.
Quit in terms of like just I'll go to jail, or quit in like trying to fight it, or like quit like in life? Like what do you...
Quit using all total.
Gotcha. What was it like in jail?
It was hard. I had to use a walker because back then when I was using, my legs got weak, very weak. Mm-hmm. Ended up in a wheelchair for even a bit. It was a struggle, but I did it for 2 months.
I just want to say, I've known you for the whole time I've worked here at Ren, which is now almost 4 years. I never knew that you are so mobile, it seems. So I didn't know that you had that kind of physical struggles. Wow. All right, we'll chat about that a little bit later. So, jail was a struggle. At this time while you were in jail, were you experiencing any, of the bipolar, schizophrenia?
Bipolar.
Yeah, that was coming up a lot?
And the schizophrenia.
Were you?
I was placed in a, what's called a health section of the jail. People that, mentally problems, and people like me that needed a walker, and stuff like that.
Were you given permission to medication and things like that?
They gave me what they thought was good, but when I got out of jail, I had all my meds changed and
Gotcha.
Fixed.
Gotcha. So you're in jail. It sounds like that definitely was the catalyst that helps you to start on that road. After getting out of jail, you went to the group home.
Correct.
And can you tell me a little bit about that experience? What was the group home like?
Shared it with, I don't know how many people. It was male and female. It was a recovery-based group home. So they took us to church. They took us to meetings. And I got involved in Celebrate Recovery. And I ended up becoming a team leader in Celebrate Recovery. And I did my steps, my higher power, and the group home was hard though, because you got all these men and women, different mindset, different diagnoses. It was kind of hard. I got in a couple arguments, but nothing that was too bad.
So we were talking about something that you would like people to know about what it's like to live with a mental health challenge. And you say it's hard. You say you feel like people judge you. Let's dive a little deeper into that answer, if you don't mind. Because, all right, it's hard and people judge you. What do you feel like they're judging you on? Like, is it the fact that you're not as they think you're not as intelligent as them, that they think you're not as like worthwhile to society, like, or is like, what is the judgment of?
They think that just because I got a mental illness, I'm being babied because of the disability or the mental health problem. I've been dealing with mental health problems since I was 5. I was abused by my parents and put in children's hospitals and just for no reason. My mom couldn't handle me. So she put me in the hospital. So I've been dealing with it my whole life, and people would put me down because I'm disabled, or I have that different mindset than everybody else does, and that I'm a terrible person because I don't function like a normal person.
Now, so this would have been a good thing to know about your journey, because this is where your mental health journey would start, right? Like if you said you experienced things like that as a child, then those are things that could lead into stuff. So let's go there for a second. So, we said your recovery journey started with meth and your substance use. It sounds like it started before that. So what was going on at home as a child?
I was abused. Mental, sexual, physical.
Gotcha. And what did that lead to? I don't need to know what the abuse is, but I'm more interested in knowing about, like, how did that affect you as a person growing up?
My mom gave me up at 11. So then that's when I was placed in foster care and all that. Basically, my mom didn't believe that I had depression or post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever ADHD, and which I was kind of ADHD at a young age. At 5, they diagnosed me ADHD.
Did you have a father, or just
A
stay with your
stepfather.
mom? Stepfather. What was your relationship like with him? Not good.
Not good.
So, tough childhood growing up, and you're put into foster care at 11?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you stay in foster care?
Till I was 18.
So, never adopted.
No, but the family I lived with for the longest, they considered me as their child. So when I say mom and dad, I'm talking about my foster family.
Gotcha. How long were you with them for?
4 years.
Okay. From what ages?
Let's see. I don't know.
Okay. Was your experience with them good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And so, in foster care until 18, sounds like, it sounds a bit lonely.
Yeah.
Lonely in what kind of way?
That I didn't have one. I didn't believe that I could be loved again.
Loved by a parent? Loved by just
By
a
someone,
person?
both.
What does love mean to you?
Someone being there truly cares about me. It's basically as when I'm happy, I can find someone that I love and they love me back. Now I understand what love is. It's genuine. It's a really good feeling to be loved by someone.
I see here on your sheet you have PTSD circled as something also you've experienced.
The trauma growing up before I hit foster care.
This stems from being your birth parents. And PTSD, so post-traumatic stress syndrome. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, you don't have to go into traumatic details or anything, but is there any things that, you said you get triggered a bit when people talk about their kids, because that reminds you of your own son. Things that trigger you today that reminds you of those parents?
I try not to think about it.
Okay. Makes sense.
Because I know it's there, but I don't want it to be there. So me focusing on something else other than my diagnosis.
Yeah.
That way, and it makes me feel like I can do it. I can accomplish things.
So, do you feel in any way that, the abuse you experienced with your birth parents, being in foster care from 11 to 18, do you feel there are any contributing factors in that led to your using of meth and the substance?
Yeah, because I felt like every time I would contact my real mom, it ain't nothing good.
So you're still in contact with her today? Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I'll tell her happy birthday on Facebook or Mother's Day, Christmas, holidays, but I really don't have a conversation with her.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much all like messages through Instagram, like Facebook or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I see on here also you say you had a relapse.
I relapsed
Twice.
Before I got off probation.
So this would be when you were still in the group home or in jail?
Before I went to jail.
Before you went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
That's why I ended up in jail, was probation violation.
Because they had a drug test or something like that.
I was supposed to drug test every week. I didn't go. I told my PO flat out I'm still using and I'm not going to go 20, 30 minutes on the bus just to go drop when I know it's dirty. Mm-hmm. So he just got tired of it and said, you know what? You go to jail until you can it was either finish out my probation or go in there. So.
Well, quite the rebel for just being at least honest with your PO in that kind of stance, huh?
Yeah.
And so you just got tired of it and it was just like he gave you two options and you chose the route back to jail?
No, I had to finish the program, which was I had to either go to rehab or a group home rehab facility.
Which you kind of went to a group home rehab facility. Mm-hmm. That's what yeah.
And then I finished. I was doing so good that I was in this group home. I didn't have to drop, but my PO came over once a week to see me because it was too far to take the bus.
Yeah. So
he came over and they discharged me early because I was doing everything I was supposed to. Mm-hmm. So.
Gotcha. Well, at least you got discharged, which is fantastic. So yeah, those two relapses, which you haven't had anything in 9 years, so it's pretty phenomenal. And so I know that you've talked to me about your two major diagnoses, which is living with bipolar and schizophrenia. Can you tell me a little bit, once again, being somebody, I am a peer, but I consider myself a peer in the sense of how can we better establish healthy boundaries in relationships, have strong communication, articulate our feelings and wants to one another. Like, that's where my recovery lies. I've never actually been diagnosed with a disorder. Can you tell me and some of our listeners, what is it like living with bipolar for you? What do you experience?
It'd have to go in with schizophrenia because it's bipolar schizophrenia, so I'm going to do both at the
Gotcha.
same time.
So, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Being bipolar schizophrenic, for me, I hear voices like all the time. even in my sleep. Because I wake up sometimes crying because of what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But if I go to bed happy, I usually wake up happy. If I'm sad when I go to bed, I'm sad in the mornings.
So those emotions just carry through your sleep.
Mm-hmm. The schizophrenic part, I'm glad they got it under control right now, because I don't know what I would do.
So right when you say under control, you mean right now no voices at all, or just voices periodically, or what does under control mean? Okay.
It's something that I will probably have for the rest of my life, and I just got to learn how to work with it.
When it started, if you can remember back then, was it something that like was a gradual?
The
like,
drug
thing?
use, I think, got the voices to start.
Gotcha. That's what kind of like started escalating it.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, even after you stopped your drug use, those voices just remained.
Yeah.
They didn't go.
And the doctors all were like, "Oh, we thought it was just the meth," and no.
And so bipolar schizophrenia, you hear these voices, and do those those voices contribute to your emotions, or do your emotions contribute to the voices?
Before they were under control, I was hearing, "Go kill yourself, go do this, go do that to this person or that person."
And how'd that make you feel?
Scared.
Scared? I mean, yeah, I'd be scared too. Did you ever like tell yourself like, this is ridiculous, I'm just hearing things or something like that, like, or were you like there's something that I think is going on with me and I need to get it checked out?
Yeah, I when I feel like that, then I tell my doctor. And I haven't been hospitalized in years.
Hospitalized, like for your, like doing something
Mental health.
as a result of that? Gotcha. Okay, well that's fantastic. So, once again, for our listeners who, some of them may have never experienced these things, like, how do you think that we, using this podcast, can better help our community to understand what living with bipolar schizophrenia is?
One more time?
So, using this podcast right now, right? How do you think we could communicate to our audience that has no experience with being bipolar schizophrenia? How do you think we can help them to understand what this is? What it's like?
Don't be scared to get help. You never can go wrong on getting help. It doesn't matter if you're trying to deal with depression. Schizophrenic is a little different than depression. It's more, it's a lot more. Being bipolar schizophrenic is not the end of the world. It is a very broad diagnosis, but you still got to be there. You still got to live your life. Just don't never not ask questions or have concerns, because you're not no wrong if you do.
I love that. All right, Shelly, we've gone over a lot. I think so. Would you say that you told the most amount of your story that you've ever actually told?
Yes.
Because I've known you for a while, and I feel like I now know you like 100% more. You seem like a new person to me, in a good way, because it's like, wow, you've gone through so much, you've overcome so much. I also think that there's still places for you to go, as we all have places to go, in terms of our own recovery. I know for sure I have my own that I need to get to, there's definitely some heartache and some tragedy in that story of yours that I wish you the best and things like that. And of course, for here at Ren, if there's ways we can help you with that, don't be afraid to share it with us, please. We'd be happy to to help. What are your thoughts on this podcast? How'd you feel? You said you were nervous before. How are you feeling now?
Glad I did it.
Yeah? Was it as scary as you thought it would be?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
You just chat. It's pretty much what we do here at Ren. We just kind of talk, It's just that normally we don't have a microphone in our face. So if there was like one thing that you could say, just to say, just on your thoughts of the podcast, what you talked about, or mental health, or the future, what would it be?
I would like to share my story more
Why?
because it kind of gives me a good feeling inside.
Yeah? I feel that same way when I share mine. There's, we won't go too far into mine because this is your day, not my day. But, I remember when I was still hiding my story from people because I was afraid of being judged, of people not liking me, of embarrassment, a lot of things like that. When I finally found the courage to actually tell my story, not everybody agreed with it, it's definitely some things that I've done, mistakes I've made that I still carry those wounds. But every time I tell it, I'm amazed at how many people are reciprocating of it in a very, very good way, and it feels like a weight's taken off, and it also feels like I'm no longer hiding any part of myself.
I agree.
And I love that. And so that's the reason why I love this podcast, is to be able to talk about that, and let that weight be out, and share things, and hopefully inspire other people who maybe are hiding still, to find that courage to share, and it takes time and maybe a few mistakes along the way to finally say it, Very cool. Well, I truly am grateful for you being here on the podcast. I look forward to seeing you around Ren, and hopefully maybe we'll do another one in the future. And I am going to check back in about that weight loss stuff. So be thinking about what's one thing you can give up in terms of that junk food.
All right.
And I think that'd be a really good thing to come back to later on. Cool?
Cool.
Cool. Thank you, Shelly. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff, for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Take care. Bye.